All right, so we got all these rips up there. Rips is super deep at that time.
Yeah.
Blacks are pretty strong. Crips are strong.
Yeah.
What's going on with the ABs and the MA?
Kev Mac video, you know, this is for sure. Kev Mac video, open your soul, represent your ghetto, baby.
Now, them, that's the only thing I had a problem with them was this, right? If we got into it with the whites or the ABs or whatever, then Mexicans would help them. Or if we get into it with Mexicans, the whites would help them. That's the only problem we had. This is one of the reasons why I was telling you we had to band together. Because it was none of their business if we got into it with this race. So why would you help this race and it ain't none of your business? So we had to stick together, right? Because we need everybody we could get, you know?
Now, when you say Mexicans, distinguish the difference between the two groups.
Okay, you had the Southerners and the Northerners. Now, at that time, the Northerners used to run with us, with the blacks, back then. Southerners, they had that prison sold up. But I remember an incident, this would happen, right? A few Northerners came in there. And they turned around, and where the Southerners made a mistake is they turned around and let a few get on the yard, Northerners. So they told the Northerners that you can stay, but you can't represent. That's where they made their mistake. The Northerners started slipping in, and they was getting bigger and bigger and bigger until one day, Northerners said, we get ready to represent. And that's where it went down at. So it was an incident on the yard. We was on the yard, and the Southerners was getting ready to take off from the Northerners. But they got the whites to help them. So they was marching by the handball court, because Tracy had like 8 handball courts. It was real long. So by the time they got to handball court 2, the Northerners get at me and say, look, pretty, check this out on. They said, you think people will go down with us, right? So we already see what's going on. They coming to deep. So as they got closer, the Northerners got closer to us. So the tower seen what was going on. So the sergeant came out with the black gun, started cursing at everybody, telling everybody get the hell off the yard, and this, here, and that, right? So it was an incident in the gym where they did get down. And they used that opportunity to ship a lot of them out. See, this is what they were doing. If the Crips and Bloods got into it, they would go through everybody's file and see who was a rider or whatever, and they'd put them on the bus. So the same thing happened with the Northern and the Southerners. What happened when they got down, they went through the whole institution, got rid of those who was capable of riding, they put them on the bus and shot them out of there. Oh yeah, they was doing some scandalous stuff back then.
So how does Southern Mexicans run or so aggressive in a northern prison? Is it by numbers or is it
definitely by numbers?
Power.
Because you got to realize something. Remember what I was saying about you only have 4 prisons, right? And Tracy was a prison where, like I said, people would wonder how all the Crips got deep at Tracy. That's where they sent us. So everybody get more aggressive and get more, tactical by being in numbers. The only thing I didn't like doing, and which I didn't do back then, somebody came up there and they from LA and they talking about, hey, look, homie, you're going to run with us, right? I didn't do that because sometimes they would break down and get weak and turn on you. So I didn't believe in just recruiting no person in jail that ain't never been in the hood. I didn't do that because I don't know you. I didn't trust you.
All right, so pretty in 1985, Southern Hispanics and blacks, particularly Crips, were going at it in Folsom. What was going on in Tracy between the Southern Mexicans and the Crips?
Now I'm gonna tell you, it really didn't trickle down until probably mid '85, the end of '85. So, like I said, you remember Tracy was only 1 yard, 5,000 people. You only have one way off that yard and one way in. So when it went down there, right, it was like watching one of them old Roman movies where everybody on the yard getting down. Let me tell you something. See, the new prisons was built where you had 1,000 this yard, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. Tracy, 1 yard. So when you got down there, most likely you were going to get away if you didn't get shot. But the towers, the gun towers were so far away, even if you did shoot, you ain't going to hit who you're going to hit. So it was like nonstop violence. Sometimes we might stay on lockdown for like 9 months. Then we come off. We off like 2 weeks, and then we go on like another 6, 7 months. You know, cell fed.
So what was the Bloods doing when the Crips and the Hispanics would go at it?
Well, see, here's the thing, right? Remember when I was telling you, when something like that happened, it's all the blacks. You can't turn around and separate, say, well, these blacks over here, these blacks over here. Why? Because all other races look at that. They look at you being weak if you divide yourself amongst your race, right? Because like I said, when we got into it with the Mexicans, the whites helped them. Whites ain't Mexican. And it was vice versa. So when stuff like that happened back then, it was every black involved, you know? But if it was some Bloods up there, right, it was still, you know, you still had to get involved.
And where does the BGF stand in all this?
They had to get involved too. It wasn't no separation of that one.
This is Los Angeles.